Well, a new report is out saying the president's reelection effort may come down to one group of working class voters in one key battleground state, Pennsylvania. The bad news for the president, they are the same group of voters he was talking about when he said this during the 2008 presidential election. Joining me now for a fair and balanced debate, David Webb, host of the David Webb Show on SiriusXM Patriot and co-founder of the Tea Party 365, Sally Kohn, founder of MovementVision.org, and Hank Shankoff, Democratic strategist for the Clinton-Gore campaign, among many other accomplishments in the political field. All right, guys, thank you all so much for being here. The suggestion is that white working class voters, in particular in the state of Pennsylvania, are critical to him because he's got to win Pennsylvania if he wants to win the presidency. Hank, is that true?
Absolutely. He's got to win Pennsylvania. He's got to win Michigan. He's got to win Ohio. He's got to win former Rust Belt states. And he's got to find common enemy for the blue-collar white men particularly to join with him and say the other guy's worse. If he does that, he wins.
How does he do that? Because he's already been painting the Republicans as too favored to the rich and not protecting the middle class and the poor. And yet, right now, only 33% of white working class voters in Pennsylvania say the president deserves re-election.
Megyn, the facts are he can do it. It's not about blaming the other guys. It's finding one other guy to blame in what will probably be the bloodiest political campaign we've seen since 1980.
No more hope and change on the message when it comes to Pennsylvania, Sally?
Look, I'm actually from Allentown, Pennsylvania, so not far from Scranton. The reality is the voters in Allentown, voters in Scranton, like the rest of the country, aren't stupid. They know the economy was going sour long before Obama took office. And incidentally, they know it was going sour because of the policies passed and pushed and continuing to be pushed by Republicans. So they realize it's going to take a while to get out of this hole. And again, you can't beat something with nothing. And right now they realize that the candidates who are being run up and who will ultimately just want to do more of the same.
33% say he deserves re-election. And the others don't feel that way.
But let's not forget, again, his approval ratings may be low, and people are frustrated, and they should be frustrated, and this is a bad economy, and people are right to be angry. But the disapproval ratings for Republicans in Congress and Republicans in general are even higher. It's just not boding well.
You hear this a lot from the president's supporters about the disapproval ratings of Congress, and they are in the tank. But the question is whether that will tar the GOP presidential nominee. I mean, will these folks in Allentown, Pennsylvania, these white working class voters in Pennsylvania, prefer a Mitt Romney, prefer a Newt Gingrich to a President Obama?
Well, in order to really look at this, you've got to take the party labels out and look at Pennsylvania. Now, I've done a lot of work there, state legislative levels. It's a very libertarian-leaning state. You've got a governor that's a Republican, both houses that are Republicans. The Republicans control legislatively 54 of the 67 counties. It's a libertarian state which leans towards smaller government, more independence, more of that rugged individualism that is Americans. And they have a lot of conflicts in that state. They're not seeing solutions. This isn't Philly. Go out to western Pennsylvania, go out west on I-76, get to the suburbs like Waynesburg outside of Pittsburgh. Those are the areas where you find this.
Hank, why, the last time around, President Obama won Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Even though he had made those remarks about the clinging, which were so controversial. It's not like they didn't know about those remarks. There was a big deal. That was a big deal in that campaign. So why are we to believe that it's not going to wind up the same way this time? They may not like the remarks. He may not persuade this group of voters, but he could still win Pennsylvania?
He can absolutely still win Pennsylvania. He ought to be up nights praying that Newt Gingrich is the nominee because he can bang his brains in on Newt's attempts in 95 and 6 to cut Medicare, to cut education, to cut the environment, which gives him the sportsman, the blue-collar people who are out of work, and older people. And Pennsylvania is the most rapidly aging state in the country. My money on that one's on Barack Obama in that state. Pray for Newt, and that's what he ought to be doing.
But the thing you can't argue with is you go out I-76 and you see the billboards still up from the coal industry in the northern areas, rather between West Virginia and Pennsylvania. You look at those areas. Those are voters, too. They have turned, and again, that libertarian streak is stronger.
The question in Pennsylvania will be, and the same question in Southern Ohio, it's like the old Johnny Carson show, whom do you trust? It should be whom, but they said, who do you hate? Whom do you hate more? Whom do you hate less? Who do you trust more? You don't have to trust any of them because the facts are Pennsylvania.
I actually kind of disagree on both levels. So first of all, it's a Democrat-leaning state, right? And it's a very open-minded state. And frankly, it's a very working.
But the Republicans
the GOP controls 3 houses and the governorship.
Right, no, that's true. But in terms of registrations, but look, the larger point is, let's go back to the sentiment that the president said before he was president. I think that it's not the clinging part of it. It's the bitter part. It's the frustrated part. And the fact of the matter is, they want to see a president who hasn't been in touch enough with that frustration, with that anger, because they are. Look, I was just home for Thanksgiving. People in my town, people in Allentown, they're devastated. The economy has been going bad for a long time. We lost steel to overseas. It's bad.
Harrisburg
and they
is
want
bankrupt,
to see, and they want to see a president who is going to use the power of government not to keep giving handouts to the top 1%, but to rebuild the economy to work for working people.
I'm not sure. I think there's some truth to it, but the other side of this is very simple. Western Pennsylvania, if you look at the data, is a place where people love to hate. Who do they love to hate? They love to hate people in government. They keep flipping the government over in Allegheny County. They love to hate people who make taxes. They hate taxes. They hate people in Harrisburg. It's a great place to hate.
And they look at a big government president.
I thought we were the Keystone State.
This is that libertarian streak. And like I said, I have testified in Pennsylvania 4 different organizations, whether it's PennDOT, state legislative meetings, very libertarian-leaning state, small government, and they don't like the fact that they're being told how to live their lives. And by the way, it's a Judeo-Christian country. You insult independence when you bring that up, gods and guns and religion. But
he still won the state last time. He still won the state the last time. Although
it was a different climate.
We'll see whether
Put your money
on
him.
Gotta go. Thank you all so much.